Hi everyone, welcome again to this video or podcast. Lisa here, nursing student. Today I want to talk about why self-advocacy is so important in nursing school and beyond. So if you've seen a bunch of my previous videos and podcasts, talked about how I've had to navigate nursing school on my own, being my own self-advocate, and I want to explain why it's so important to do that in this video. I just want to go over some of the, I had to self-advocate in my preceptorship or coming up to my preceptorship. Right now, you can see my other video. They're not placing me anywhere until I have accommodations letter in place. But back in February, I submitted my choices, and we get 3 choices. And then early July, I said, nope, none are available. You got to pick something else. And one instructor who's not involved in the program saying, you have to do med-surg if you don't, or any variation in med-surg. If you don't, you're not going to graduate. And I said, that's not acceptable. And I said, I need to think about this. Because this is my education, which I'm paying for. So I advocated for myself and said, no, I had spoke to the dean and the program chair. We submitted my choices again. But now it's a little too late. There's not enough time. And anyway, so from the very beginning, I advocated for, this is the education that I want. This is the career that I want. Because when you're preceptorship, also, this is often where you're going to be in your career area where you want to work. Look at the areas I want to work is public health, which I know it's hard to get into. There's not a lot of spots. In mental health, there's a lot more spots in mental health. But like in the RN program, I know if you don't get a preceptorship in mental health, they always don't want to hire RNs. Like where I live, they have degrees in psych nursing. They prefer to hire them. It makes sense. Because in mental health, I only get 72 hours of mental health. Although, look, I'm undergrad in psychology. I've worked as a mental health worker for 13 years. So it's just harder to get in if your preceptorship is not in there. Same with public health. If they're hiring a new grad, they want to see that you have a preceptorship in that area, which makes sense, right? So why would it make sense to go in an area I'm not going to work? And it's beyond my physical limitations and all that. So I'm just checking my notes here. So advocacy, like, it's a skill that develops over time. It's not something you're like, from day one, you're like, I'm really good at this, unless you're like, I don't know, some leadership role before. Especially like, it also depends on your age. Not always, but because I'm, I think, one of the oldest person in my cohort. Most of them in my class are Generation Z or in their 30s. So especially the ones who are in their 20s, I don't think they don't have the life experience to advocate. Often, actually, I had this partner I worked with and some other classmates who were quite young. They would tell me about their experience on a unit or as a student nurse. You can get jobs as student nurses where I live. And I tell them, these are your rights. Know your rights and don't let them take advantage of you. So I was always advocating for student rights. And I would tell my classmates this. Some of them don't want to rock the boat or are afraid of retaliation. But that's the problem, right? If you don't say anything, nothing's going to change. And that's why we have all these toxic problems in nursing school and nursing, because people aren't saying anything. Like right now where I live, there's actually a doctor who's suing one of the health authorities because they fired her for advocating for patient and staff safety. She had posted, I think, a notice in the ER, and they didn't like that. And that's what they do. But good for her, she's fighting because they try to retaliate, and it's not right. So I have to say, with all this experience of me trying to get the preceptorship that I want and need and deserve as a student, it's actually forced me to become a very strong advocate and nursing leader in my own right. And that's why I'm very passionate about helping other nurses, helping other students know their rights and not accept the status quo. Because in the past, I didn't like confrontation, and I'm very introverted, and I would just say whatever to go with the group and this and that. But no, this is, to me now, is not acceptable. Also where I am in my stage of my life. So if I see injustice, I'm going to say something, and I don't care what you think. I'm going to speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves. That's what also it means to be a good nursing leader. Help pick up those who can't speak for themselves or they're not able to, and call out those who think they can get away with this stuff, which they can't. And so this has kind of been my journey of being a self-advocate, of nursing students, just nursing in general. So I've been actually I've had a strong community of nurses on LinkedIn who also are going this non-traditional path, and and as a nursing student, I think it's important this conversation continues, because I think most of my classmates are going to work in the hospital, which is fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. But there's so many other avenues that they don't tell students about or educate them about. So I wanted to talk about, so as a student, just connect with your student associations, connect with whatever school you're at, because each one will have, you'll know your rights and the policies of what's in place and how to fight it. Because also I know there's been instructors who tries to gaslight me, who they have all these high standards, but then they don't follow the same standards. It's not acceptable. And they change the goalpost of what they want. The rubrics are unclear, and the assignments are unclear. So, and they want to focus on APA. If you're outside North America, I don't think you'll understand that. But like they want to focus on this nursing research, which is fine, but some of us may not go into research. I'm kind of going off topic here, but like some professors have their own personal takes and opinions they want to infuse in the program. Like I had one instructor who's like, well, some of you may go to be nurse practitioners, and I want to prepare you and this and that. Well, that's not your job. And we have a say of what education we want. This is a Bachelor's of Science education. That is not needed. If students are going to get their MP, nurse practitioner, master's degree, then they know what they have to do when they, apply to those programs. But you can't make that broad assumption and push it on all the students. And you can't be communicating behind students' backs or to their partner. And yeah, so you see, this is what I've been going through. And also, instructors who should not be involved in my preceptorship discussion have been. And so I've removed them from email threads, because I was like, no, this is my right as a student, and I'm choosing who I allow in this conversation and do not. Because if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you, and people are going to walk over you. They're going to get away with it if you let them. But this goes beyond nursing school. Same thing, what if you see injustices on the unit? What if you see nurses cutting corners, or managers doing things they shouldn't, or things that are unsafe? You're not going to say anything? If you don't say anything, I think also your license at risk. They say, oh, why didn't you say anything? So you need to advocate. Actually, some of the nursing competencies in British Columbia one of them is being an advocate. Another is being a nursing leader. That's part of what makes a full-rounded registered nurse. In Canada, anyway. Like here, we don't have, I think in the US, they have ADNs. Here, everyone to get your RN, you have to get your Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So, yeah, so I just invite nursing students to really advocate for yourself, and don't just go the one way because you don't want a confrontation and you don't want to rock the boat, because that's not sustainable. And I'd love to hear also from nurse educators. What are you doing to advocate for your students? All right, thank you, everyone. I'll see you in the next video or podcast. Take care.